Dean Martin's dark secret behind Rio Bravo, what most fans never figured out. December 25th, 1995, Beverly Hills, California. Christmas morning. Dean Martin is dying. 78 years old, emphysema, kidney failure. His body shutting down one system at a time. His daughter, Dina, sits beside the bed, holding his hand. The oxygen machine beeps steadily. Morphine drip, labored breathing. Dean's eyes open, barely. He looks at Dina. "Baby," he whispers. "Put it on." "Put what on, Dad?" "The movie, Rio Bravo. I need to see it one more time." Dina hesitates. Her father is dying. Does he really want to spend his final hours watching an old Western? But Dean's grip tightens on her hand, insistent. "Please." Dina finds the VHS tape, puts it in. The television flickers to life. 1959. John Wayne in his prime. Angie Dickinson, Ricky Nelson, and Dean Martin, 30 years younger, playing Dude, the drunk deputy trying to earn back his badge. Dean watches, eyes fixed on the screen, waiting for something. Then it comes. The scene. The cigarette scene. On screen, Dude sits at a table, hands shaking, trying to roll a cigarette. Tobacco spilling everywhere, paper tearing, trying again, failing again. A man so broken he can't perform one simple task. Dean's eyes fill with tears. "That's when I died, baby," he whispers. Dina leans closer. "What?" That scene, that moment. March 28th, 1959. That's when Dino Crocetti died. Not today, 36 years ago. "Dad, Rio Bravo saved your career. Everyone knows that." Dean's tears flow freely now. Past performance, past pretending. "Rio Bravo killed me," he says. "And nobody, not you, not Frank, not even me for the longest time, nobody figured out what really happened in that scene." His breathing becomes more labored. Each word costs more. "I thought I was acting, baby. Thought I was playing desperate. But I wasn't acting. I was desperate. And then I spent 36 years running from that truth. Running so hard I forgot who I was running from." Dina doesn't understand. Not yet. "What are you saying?" Dean looks back at the television, at his younger self, at Dude. "The king of cool," Dean whispers. "The whole thing, the martinis, the swagger, the rat pack, all of it. It was a mask, a costume, a performance, because after that scene, after Rio Bravo, I was too scared to ever be real again." His eyes close. "I've been wearing that mask for 36 years, and I'm going to die wearing it, because I don't know how to take it off anymore." What happened on the set of Rio Bravo in March 1959 that Dean Martin called his own death? Why did the role that saved his career destroy the man beneath the performance? And why did Dean spend the rest of his life running from the very moment that made him a star? This is the story Hollywood never told you. The dark secret behind Dean Martin's greatest performance. And it's not what you think. Act 1. The Fall. 1958. The Humiliation. 1958. Los Angeles, California. Dean Martin is 41 years old, and his career is over. Not winding down, not slowing. Over. Finished. Dead. 2 years ago, he did the unthinkable. He walked away from Jerry Lewis, the biggest comedy team in America. 10 years of sold-out shows, 16 films, millions of dollars in revenue. Dean ended it. Told Jerry he was done. Walked away. The press had a field day. The biggest mistake in show business history. Dean Martin without Jerry Lewis, a ventriloquist without the dummy, except Dean was the dummy all along. Jerry Lewis will thrive. Dean Martin will disappear. And they were right. Dean's first solo film, 10,000 Bedrooms, bombed so catastrophically that theaters pulled it after 1 week. The nightclub bookings dried up. The recording contracts got smaller. The phone stopped ringing. Dean has alimony payments to his first wife, Betty, 4 children to support from that marriage. A second wife, Jean, who married Dean Martin, the star, not Dino Crocetti, the has-been. A Beverly Hills lifestyle that requires money he no longer has. He's drowning. And Hollywood is watching with popcorn. In Hollywood, success is oxygen. Failure is drowning. And Dean Martin is at the bottom of the pool, lungs burning, looking up at the surface he can't reach. The audition. Spring 1958. Dean hears about a new Western, Rio Bravo. Howard Hawks directing, John Wayne starring. There's a role. Second lead. Dude. A deputy who lost his badge because of alcoholism, trying to earn it back. Dean wants that role, needs it. It's his last chance. But there's a problem. To get the meeting with Hawks, Dean has to do something stars never do. He has to beg. Not personally. Dean would never beg in person. That would require dropping the cool facade he's built over 20 years. So his agent begs, makes calls, promises Dean will work cheap, scale wages, $5,000, the same pay as extras. Dean Martin, who 2 years ago commanded $150,000 per picture, now begging for $5,000 and a chance. Hawks agrees to meet him, not because he believes in Dean, because the role is a pathetic drunk. And who better to play a loser than a loser? The meeting. 9 a.m., Hawks' office. Dean shows up looking like unshaven, suit wrinkled, hair uncombed, dark circles under his eyes. He'd been up all night running the numbers, realizing even if he gets this role, it won't save him. It'll just delay the inevitable bankruptcy and humiliation. Hawks looks him up and down. Dean sees it in his eyes. Disappointment. Hawks wanted to see the king of cool, the smooth crooner, the guy who made everything look easy. Instead, Hawks is looking at a middle-aged man who looks like he slept in his car. But then Hawks smiles. "Perfect," Hawks says. Dean blinks. "What?" "You look exactly like Dude. Broken, desperate, defeated. That thing in your eyes, that fear, I need that on screen." Dean doesn't know whether he's being complimented or insulted. "Can you play a drunk?" Hawks asks. Dean thinks about the bourbon he drank last night to fall asleep. The bourbon he drank this morning to stop his hands from shaking for this meeting. "I can play anything you need," Dean says. Hawks hands him the script. 40 pages, Dean's role. "Read it tonight. Role's yours if you want it. But Dean, this isn't a comedy drunk. This isn't some lovable buffoon stumbling around for laughs. Dude is pathetic, humiliated, a man who lost everything and can't stop losing. He's weak, desperate, broken. You good with that?" Dean takes the script, nods. "I'm good with it." Hawks stands. Meeting over. "Rehearsals start in 2 weeks. Arizona location. Bring boots. It's going to be hot as hell." Dean leaves, sits in his car in the parking lot, opens the script, reads the description of Dude. A man hollowed out by failure. Eyes that have seen the bottom and accepted it as home. Dean closes the script, stares at his reflection in the rearview mirror, and realizes, I don't have to act. I am Dude. But he doesn't know yet that this realization will destroy him, that becoming Dude to save Dean Martin will kill Dino Crocetti forever. He just knows he got the role, and that's enough, for now. Act 2, The Lion's Den. March 1959. Arriving in Hell. March 1959. Old Tucson, Arizona. The Rio Bravo set. 105 degrees Fahrenheit, dust everywhere. Rattlesnakes in the rocks, scorpions in the trailers. The kind of location that reminds you movie making is just suffering with better lighting. Dean steps out of the car, suit jacket already sticking to his back from sweat. And there he is, John Wayne, the Duke, 6'4", pure American masculinity in boots and a Stetson. The man every other man wants to be. The cowboy who built America's image of itself. Wayne is standing in full costume. Looks like he was born in the Old West and tolerates the 20th century as a temporary inconvenience. He sees Dean, doesn't smile, just nods. The nod of a king acknowledging a peasant entering his kingdom. Dean nods back, keeps his face neutral, cool, unbothered. But inside, something twists. John Wayne doesn't walk onto sets, he conquers them. And everyone else, directors, actors, crew, exists in the kingdom he's claimed as his own, the Judgment. Wayne doesn't trust Dean Martin. Everyone on set knows it. Wayne represents old Hollywood, real men, cowboys who did their own stunts, who didn't complain about heat or danger. Men who embodied the characters they played 24 hours a day. Dean Martin represents New Hollywood, the Rat Pack, Las Vegas, tuxedos and martinis, smooth talk, everything Wayne despises about modern masculinity. First day, lunch break, Wayne walks over. "Hope you can ride a horse," Wayne says, not friendly, testing. "I can ride," Dean says. "Hope you can handle a gun." "I can handle it." "Good, because out here we do real work, not like those musical comedies you used to make with your little friend." Wayne smiles. The smile is worse than the insult. Dean says nothing, because there's nothing to say. Wayne isn't wrong. Dean's film career before this has been mostly fluff, lightweight entertainment. "Don't worry," Wayne continues. "I'll make sure you don't embarrass yourself. Or me." Wayne walks away. Dean stands there, alone. A singer playing cowboy in a real cowboy's world. And he realizes, Wayne is waiting for me to fail. And when I do, he'll make sure everyone knows it. The isolation. Filming begins. Dean is alone. Ricky Nelson, the 20-year-old teen idol playing Colorado, is surrounded by young crew members and local girls who show up to watch him. He's got youth, momentum, the future. Dean has the past. And in Hollywood, the past is a disease. Between takes, Dean sits by himself, runs his lines, smokes, watches Wayne hold court. Wayne tells stories about filming The Searchers, about Monument Valley, about real westerns made by real men. Everyone listens like Wayne is Moses delivering commandments from the mountain. Dean tries to join once, walks over during a break, stands at the edge of the circle, waiting to be acknowledged. Wayne sees him, keeps talking, doesn't make space in the circle. After 30 seconds, Dean walks away. This is high school all over again, except worse. Because in high school, the popular kids could only hurt your feelings. In Hollywood, they can end your career. And Wayne is the most popular kid in the biggest high school in the world. The rehearsal, disaster. Week 2. They're blocking a scene in the jail. Simple scene. Dude walks in, pours coffee, makes small talk with Wayne's character, Sheriff Chance. Dean's done 1,000 scenes like this. Easy, relaxed. He can do this in his sleep. Hawks calls action. Dean walks in, picks up the coffee pot. Wayne improvises, not in the script. "Coffee's cold," Wayne says. "But then again, you're probably used to cold coffee, aren't you, dude? Used to whatever scraps you can get." Dean freezes, just for a second, because he wasn't expecting the improvisation. The script doesn't say the coffee is cold. "Then I'll make fresh," Dean says. Weak line, defensive, not dude. Wayne shakes his head. Dude wouldn't care if it's cold. Dude's so desperate for anything in his stomach, he'd drink mud. Hawks cuts. Duke's right. Let's go again. They reset. Dean picks up the pot again, tries to channel desperate, but it comes out forced, actorly. A performance of desperation rather than actual desperation. "Cut," Hawks says, frustrated now. "Dean, where's the need? Where's the hunger? I need to see a man who'll take anything because he has nothing." Dean tries again. Take 3, take 4, take 5. Each one worse than the last. Wayne watches from his mark, arms crossed. That look on his face? I knew it. Singer can't act. After the 7th failed take, Hawks calls break, pulls Dean aside. "What's wrong?" Hawks asks quietly. "Nothing. I'll get it. You're performing, trying to show me desperate instead of being desperate." "I know. Do you know what desperate actually feels like, Dean?" Dean wants to scream. "Are you kidding me? I'm starring in this movie for $5,000 while owing my ex-wife $20,000. I'm one bad review away from never working again. I'm 41 years old and Hollywood has written me off as washed up. Do I know desperate?" But Dean just says, "I'll figure it out." Hawks nods, not convinced. We shoot the cigarette scene in 4 days. That's the most important scene in the movie. The scene where the audience understands who Dude is. If you can't find real desperation by then, this whole movie falls apart. And I can't have that. Message received. Find it, or lose everything. That night, Dean sits alone in his hotel room, script open, bourbon glass in hand, stares at the cigarette scene description. Dude tries to roll a cigarette. His hands shake from alcohol withdrawal. Tobacco spills, paper tears. He tries again, fails again. Cannot complete this simple task. Sheriff Chance watches, says nothing. The silence is devastating. Dean closes the script, looks at his own hands. Steady, controlled. The hands of a man who's spent 20 years making everything look easy. But in 4 days, those hands will have to betray him, will have to shake, will have to fail. And Dean doesn't know how to fail on purpose, because he's spent his entire life trying not to fail at all. Act 3. The cigarette scene. The death of Dino Crocetti. March 28, 1959, 4:47 p.m. 4 days later, the cigarette scene. Hawks explained it yesterday, showed Dean the setup. Simple scene, devastating scene. Dude has been sober for 48 hours in the story. His body is breaking down from withdrawal. He needs something, anything. A cigarette to steady his nerves. Just one cigarette. But his hands are shaking so badly he can't roll it. Tobacco spills, paper tears. He tries again, and fails every time. Sheriff Chance, Wayne's character, watches from across the room. Says nothing. The silence makes it worse. This is the scene where audiences understand who Dude is. Not a drunk who chose to drink. A man so broken by life that he's lost control of his own body. And we watch him try to complete one simple task. And we watch him fail. No technique, Hawks told Dean yesterday. No planning, no choreography. I want you to actually try to roll that cigarette. And I want it to be hard. I want you to struggle. Let it be real. Dean nodded.
Say he understood. He didn't understand anything.
The setup. 4:47 p.m. Last setup of the day. The light is perfect. Golden hour. They have maybe 30 minutes before they lose it. If Dean doesn't nail this scene today, they'll have to come back tomorrow. Reset. Waste time. Waste money. Prove to everyone, especially Wayne, that Dean Martin can't handle serious acting. The set is ready. Wooden table, chair, tobacco pouch, rolling papers. Dean sits down. Hawks approaches. "You ready?" "Yeah." "You sure? Because we've got 2 takes, maybe 3. After that, we lose the light and have to come back tomorrow." Translation: "Don't f*** this up." "I'm ready," Dean says. Hawks studies his face. Sees something there. Uncertainty? Fear? Good. That's what he needs. Remember, don't plan it, don't choreograph it. Just try to roll the cigarette. Let your body do what it does. Dean nods. Hawks walks back to the camera. Dean is alone at the table, tobacco and papers in front of him, waiting.
And suddenly, Dean realizes something terrifying. I don't know if I can do this. Not because he can't act, but because Hawks doesn't want him to act. Hawks wants him to just exist, be vulnerable, be weak, be desperate. Everything Dean Martin has spent 20 years not being. The cool facade, the smooth demeanor, the guy who makes everything look easy. That's the armor. That's the protection. That's how Dino Crocetti survived becoming Dean Martin. And Hawks wants him to take off the armor. In front of 50 crew members, in front of John Wayne, in front of cameras that will preserve this moment forever. Dean's heart is pounding, actually pounding. Not performance, real fear. Action. Rolling,
The assistant director calls. Speed, from the camera operator. Hawks. Action. Dean looks down at the tobacco, the papers, reaches for them. And here's what was supposed to happen. Dean picks up a paper, sprinkles tobacco. His hands shake a little from acting. The tobacco spills a bit on purpose. He tries again. Rehearsed choreography of failure. Perfect performance. But here's what actually happens. Dean picks up the rolling paper. His hands are already shaking, not from acting, from actual fear. Fear of Wayne watching. Fear of Hawks judging. Fear of failing this take and proving everyone right, that he's just a singer pretending to be an actor. Fear of failing this movie and losing his last chance. Fear of everything. He tries to hold the paper steady. Can't. The paper crinkles wrong. His fingers won't cooperate. He tries to pinch tobacco between his thumb and forefinger. The tobacco falls everywhere except the paper. All over the table, all over his lap. Shit, Dean mutters. Not dude. Dean, actually frustrated. He grabs another paper, tries again. Hands shaking worse now, visible shaking. His breathing is wrong, too fast, shallow. He's not performing panic. He is panicking. The paper rips in his fingers, tobacco everywhere. Dean tries again, and the hands won't stop shaking, and the tobacco won't cooperate, and nothing is working. He stops, just stops, stares at his hands. These hands that used to deal blackjack in illegal gambling dens, that used to fight in boxing rings as Kid Crochet, that used to hold microphones steady in front of thousands of people. These hands that are betraying him right now. The realization, and in this moment, Dean Martin realizes something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. I'm not acting. This isn't dude's hands shaking. This is my hands shaking. This isn't dude's desperation. This is my desperation. I'm not playing a broken man. I am a broken man. The camera is still rolling. Hawks hasn't called cut. The scene is still going. Dean picks up another paper, more tobacco. His hands are trembling so badly he can barely grip anything. Tobacco spills, paper tears. And Dean Martin, the king of cool, the man who made not caring look like an art form, the guy who spent 20 years building an image of effortless confidence, does something he hasn't done in public since childhood. His eyes well up. Not crying, but close. Dangerously close. This isn't method acting. This isn't technique. This is every failure, every rejection, every night lying awake wondering if leaving Jerry was the worst mistake of his life. Every morning looking in the mirror and not recognizing the man looking back. This is Dino Crocetti, naked, exposed, unable to hide anymore behind cool and swagger and performance. Wayne's reaction. The script says John Wayne walks through the background of the frame and exits. Wayne doesn't exit. He stops, mid-stride, turns, watches Dean struggle with the cigarette. And John Wayne, who has seen every acting trick, every fake emotion, every manufactured moment in 40 years of making movies, sees something he's never seen from Dean Martin before. He sees something real. Wayne's face changes. The skepticism vanishes. The judgment disappears. The condescension evaporates. He's not watching Dean Martin perform. He's watching a man break in real time. But Wayne doesn't intervene, doesn't speak, doesn't move. He just watches. Because he understands. This is what Hawks needs. This is what the scene needs. And interrupting it would destroy something irreplaceable. "Cut," Hawks says quietly. The set is silent. Dean doesn't move, still sitting at the table, staring at his hands, at the tobacco scattered everywhere, at the torn papers, at the evidence of his failure. He's not in the scene anymore, but he's not out of it either. He's somewhere else, somewhere between Dude and Dean. Lost. Hawks approaches slowly, puts a hand on Dean's shoulder. "That's it," Hawks says gently. "That's the take." Dean looks up, confused. "No, you got it. That was perfect. I couldn't roll the cigarette. That's the point. You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to try and fail. And Dean, you didn't perform that failure. You lived it. And that's what makes it perfect." Dean's brain can't process this. He failed. Successfully. He just himself on camera, and Hawks is calling it perfect after cut. Hawks calls it a day. Crew starts breaking down equipment. Dean doesn't move from the chair, still staring at the tobacco, at his hands. He can't shake the feeling that something just happened. Something permanent. Something he can't undo. John Wayne approaches, sits in the chair across from Dean. They don't speak for a long moment. Finally, Wayne says, "You're not a singer pretending to be an actor." Dean waits. Here comes the insult, the dismissal. "You're an actor who happens to sing," Wayne continues. "And what you just did in that scene? That's acting. Real acting. The kind most men spend their whole careers trying to find and never do." Wayne stands, extends his hand. Dean shakes it. Wayne's grip is firm, equal, respectful. "Welcome to the movie," Wayne says, then leaves. Dean sits alone, tobacco still scattered across the table, torn papers, evidence of breakdown. He should feel triumphant. He nailed the scene, won Wayne's respect, saved his career. Instead, he feels hollow, exposed, vulnerable in a way he's never felt before. Because Dean just learned something terrifying. The only way to succeed as Dean Martin is to destroy Dino Crocetti. Cool was armor, and Hawks just made him take it off. And now, the world has seen what's underneath. The fear, the weakness, the desperation. And Dean doesn't know if he can ever hide it again. That night, Dean sits in his hotel room, bourbon in hand, staring at nothing. He'd won by losing, saved his career by himself. And tomorrow, he'd have to get up and do it again, and again, until the movie was finished. But Dean doesn't know yet that the real horror isn't filming. The real horror is what comes after. When Rio Bravo becomes a massive hit, when critics praise his vulnerable performance, when the world falls in love with the broken Dean Martin. Because that means he'll have to keep being broken. Forever. The trap hasn't sprung yet, but Dean just stepped into it.
And in a few months, when Rio Bravo opens to acclaim and box office gold, the trap will close. And Dean Martin will spend the next 36 years trying to escape it. And failing. Act 4. The Mask. 1959 to 1987. The success. March 1959. Rio Bravo wraps filming. May 1959. Rio Bravo opens nationwide. Massive hit. Critics rave. But here's what they rave about. Dean Martin is a revelation. His vulnerable, broken performance as Dude is Oscar-worthy. Forget the Dean Martin you think you know. This is real acting. This is a man stripped bare. Martin's willingness to show weakness, to be pathetic, to let us see his pain, this is brave. This is art. Dean reads the reviews in his Beverly Hills home. Should be celebrating. Should be thrilled. Instead, he feels exposed, naked, like the whole world just saw him at his worst moment and loved him for it. That's the problem. They loved him for being broken, for being Dude, for showing the vulnerability he'd spent 20 years hiding. Which means they want more of it, more vulnerability, more brokenness, more of the man behind the mask. And Dean realizes, I can never be cool again. Because now they know cool was the performance, and broken is the truth. The Fear. June 1959. Scripts start arriving. Every studio in Hollywood wants Dean Martin now. But they don't want the Dean Martin from 2 years ago, the smooth crooner, the easygoing entertainer. They want Dude. First script, troubled alcoholic trying to rebuild relationship with his son. Second script, war veteran with PTSD who can't adjust to civilian life. Third script, aging boxer who's lost everything and can't stop losing. All broken men, all vulnerable, all requiring Dean to strip away the armor and show pain. Dean's agent is thrilled. This is your brand now, the flawed leading man. You're going to be huge. Dean wants to say, but I don't want to be that. I don't want to spend my career playing broken men. I don't want to keep showing the world my weakness. But he doesn't say it. Because he needs the money, needs the work, needs to prove Rio Bravo wasn't a fluke. So he considers the scripts, tries to find one he can tolerate. But every time he reads a scene where the character breaks down, where the character shows vulnerability, where the character admits weakness, Dean's stomach turns. Because he remembers the cigarette scene. Remembers the feeling of being truly, actually broken on camera. Remembers not knowing where Dude ended and Dean began. And he realizes, I can't do that again. I can't survive doing that again. If I keep playing broken men, I'll stay broken forever. The Decision. July 1959. Dean makes a choice. He's not going to be Dude ever again. He's going to be the opposite of Dude. He's going to be cool, confident, in control, unbreakable. He's going to create a character so strong, so invulnerable, so effortlessly cool that nobody will ever see the broken man underneath again. He's going to build the mask back, stronger this time, thicker, impenetrable, and he's going to wear it for the rest of his life. Building the King of Cool, 1960 to 1970. 1960. Frank Sinatra calls. I'm putting together something. Me, Sammy, Peter Lawford, Joey Bishop, and I want you. The Rat Pack, Vegas shows, Ocean's 11, the whole thing. Dean says yes immediately, because this is it. This is his escape from Dude. The Rat Pack is cool, swagger, confidence, tuxedos and martinis and beautiful women. Everything Dude wasn't. But here's what Dean doesn't expect. The world loves Dean and the Rat Pack for the wrong reasons. They love Frank because he's authentically dangerous, truly volatile, really doesn't give a f***. They love Sammy because he's desperately trying to belong, and it's endearing. But Dean? They love Dean because they can sense something underneath the cool, some vulnerability beneath the performance, some pain hidden behind the martini glass. They think Dean is acting cool to hide being broken. And they're right. But Dean doesn't know they know. He thinks the mask is working.
The Drunk Persona, 1965. The Dean Martin Show premieres on NBC. Dean plays a character on the show, the lovable drunk. The guy who's always got a drink in his hand, always stumbling slightly, always making jokes about being loaded. But it's a happy drunk, a fun drunk, not like Dude, not broken or pathetic or desperate. This drunk is in control. This drunk chooses to drink because he enjoys it, not because he needs it. This drunk is cool. The show is a massive hit. America loves Drunk Dean. Happy, carefree, doesn't take anything seriously, Dean. And Dean thinks, perfect, I've done it. I've created a character that's the opposite of Dude. And nobody suspects that underneath this happy drunk is the same broken man from Rio Bravo. But here's the trap Dean doesn't see. He's not creating a character anymore. He's becoming the character. The drinking isn't just performance now. It's medicine. Medicine against the memory of being Dude. Medicine against the fear of being vulnerable. Medicine against the terror that one day someone will see through the mask and find the broken man still hiding underneath.
The Rat Pack. Irony. Frank Sinatra becomes Dean's best friend, trusts him completely, confides in him. But here's what Frank doesn't know. The Dean Martin he loves, the cool, confident, unbothered Dean, is the mask. The real Dean, the Dino Crocetti, the broken man who couldn't roll a cigarette in 1959, that man is still there, still hiding, still terrified. Frank tells Dean everything. His fears about aging, his heartbreak over Ava Gardner, his insecurities despite all the success. Frank is real with Dean, but Dean can't be real back, because being real means dropping the mask, and dropping the mask means being Dude again, vulnerable, exposed, broken. So Dean listens, nods, gives advice, but never reveals anything real about himself. Frank thinks they're best friends, brothers. Dean knows the truth. Frank loves Dean Martin. He doesn't know Dino Crocetti, and he never will. The king of cool was armor, and Dean decided after Rio Bravo that he'd wear that armor until he died, no matter the cost. The family cost. Dean's children from his second marriage, Dean Paul, Richie, Gina, grow up in the 1960s and 70s. They remember their father as the distant drunk, not Dude, the desperate drunk, not the broken man, the happy drunk, the cool drunk, the dad who was always working or playing golf or performing in Vegas. Dean Paul, called Dino, tries the hardest to connect with his father, follows him into entertainment, forms a band, tries acting, anything to get Dad's attention. But Dean keeps the mask on, even with his children, especially with his children. Because if his kids see the real him, the broken him, the dude still hiding underneath the cool, they might not love him anymore. Better to be the cool dad they can't quite reach than the broken dad they'd pity. So Dean performs for his children, for his friends, for his audience, for himself. 24 hours a day,
365 days a year. The king of cool doesn't take breaks. Can't take breaks.
Because the moment the mask slips, Dude comes back. And Dean can't survive being Dude again.
The question. 1975. Dean is 58 years old, sitting alone in his house at 3 a.m., drunk. Actually drunk, not performing drunk. He looks at himself in the mirror and asks a question he's been avoiding for 16 years. Who am I? Am I Dean Martin, the king of cool, the happy drunk, the guy who doesn't care? Or am I Dude, the broken man who couldn't roll a cigarette, the desperate failure trying to survive one more day? Or am I Dino Crocetti, the kid from Steubenville who changed his name and built a persona and performed for so long he forgot who he was before the performance started? Dean stares at the mirror, bourbon glass in hand, and realizes, I don't know. I've been performing for so long, I don't remember what's real and what's the character. I built the king of cool to escape being Dude, but somewhere in the building, I lost Dino completely. And now I'm trapped. I can't be Dude because that nearly destroyed me. I can't stop being cool because that's all the world will accept. And I can't be Dino because I don't remember how. So I'm nothing. Just the performance, just the mask. No man underneath anymore. Just the cool. Forever. Dean drinks the bourbon, pours another, drinks that too. Tomorrow he'll wake up, put on the mask, be the king of cool again, because he doesn't know how to be anything else. Act 5. The Cost. March 21st, 1987. The Second Death. March 21st, 1987. Dean Paul Martin, Dino, dies in a plane crash. Air National Guard F-4 Phantom fighter jet. Routine training flight over the San Gorgonio wilderness. The plane disappears from radar, crashes into a mountain. No survivors. Dino is 35 years old. Dean gets the news while on tour, the Together Again tour with Frank and Sammy. Old legends doing old hits for old fans who remember when they were young. Dean is backstage at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, 10 minutes before showtime. His manager walks into the dressing room. Dean, there's been an accident. Your son, his plane. Dean doesn't let him finish. Is he alive? Silence. Is he alive? They're searching, but Dean. Then there's nothing to do but wait. Dean walks on stage, performs the entire show. Every song, every joke, every choreographed moment with Frank and Sammy. The audience has no idea. They see Dean Martin, cool, smooth, a drink in his hand and a smile on his face. They don't see the father whose son is dying somewhere on a mountain. After the show, Dean goes to his hotel room, calls Gene, gets confirmation. Search teams found the crash site. No survivors. Dino is dead. Dean hangs up, sits on the edge of the bed, stares at nothing. He doesn't cry, can't cry. The mask won't let him. He quits the tour the next morning, goes home to Beverly Hills, locks the door, and something in Dean Martin breaks. Finally. Permanently. Watching Rio Bravo alone, 3 days after Dino's funeral. 4 a.m. Dean can't sleep, hasn't slept since the crash, just lies in bed staring at the ceiling, drinking, smoking, waiting for something that won't come. He goes downstairs to his screening room, scrolls through his films, looking for something, anything. Stops on Rio Bravo. He hasn't watched it in years. Can't remember the last time. Maybe a decade. Maybe longer. He presses play. The film begins. There's John Wayne. There's Ricky Nelson. There's Angie Dickinson. And there's Dean, 28 years younger, hair dark, face unlined, playing Dude. Dean watches himself stumble drunk through the opening, watches Wayne give Dude one more chance, watches Dude try to prove he's worth saving. Then the cigarette scene comes. Dean leans forward. He's seen this scene in nightmares for 28 years, but never like this. Never sober at 4 a.m. 3 days after burying his son. Never with the mask finally cracking.
On screen, Dude sits at the table, picks up tobacco and paper, tries to roll a cigarette. Hands shake. Tobacco spills. Paper tears. Tries again. Fails again. And Dean Martin, watching in 1987, finally sees the truth. The recognition. I never stopped being Dude. I thought I escaped him. Thought I built the king of cool strong enough to bury him. Thought the mask was thick enough to hide him. But I was Dude the whole time. The drinking? That's Dude. The distance from my children? That's Dude. The inability to be real with anyone, even Frank, even my wives, even my own kids? That's Dude. I've been trying to roll that same cigarette for 28 years. Hands still shaking. Tobacco still falling. Never able to finish it. Never able to light it. Never able to put it down. I thought I was running from Dude, but I was Dude, just wearing a better suit. And my son, Dino, he died never knowing the real me, never knowing his father, because I was too busy performing the king of cool to be an actual father. I was so scared of being Dude that I stayed Dude forever. Just hid it better. Rio Bravo didn't save me. It killed me. Killed Dino Crocetti. And I spent 28 years living as a ghost, a performance, a mask with nothing underneath. Dean turns off the television, sits in the dark. His son is dead. And Dean's first thought is, I need a drink. Dude's thought, always Dude's thought. And Dean realizes he can't tell the difference anymore between Dude and Dean and Dino. It's all performance now, all mask, no man left, just the cool, forever. The final years, 1987 to 1995. Dean stops performing. Not officially retired, just stops. Turns down offers, cancels appearances, stays home. His friends try to help. Frank calls weekly, comes to visit, finds Dean sitting in the dark, drinking, smoking, watching old movies on television. Come back to Vegas, Frank says. Do a show, just one show. I'll be there, Sammy will be there. We'll make it like old times. Dean shakes his head. Can't, Frank. Why not? Because I don't know who I'm supposed to be on that stage anymore. Cool Dean? Happy Dean? Dude? The mask? Who do they want? Who are you asking for? But Dean just says, I'm tired. Frank doesn't understand, but he doesn't push. 1990. Sammy dies. Dean goes to the funeral, cries on camera. People say it's beautiful, the cool guy finally showing emotion. But Dean goes home and thinks, was that real? Or was I performing grief? I genuinely don't know anymore. 1991, the Gulf War. Dean watches it on television, thinks about Dino flying missions, wonders if he'd still be alive if he'd never joined the Air National Guard. Wonders if it's Dean's fault for not being present enough to stop him. Drinks. Cries. Can't tell if it's real or performance. 1994. Frank comes to visit one last time. Looks at Dean. Really looks at him. Dean has lost weight. Looks sick. Coughs constantly from decades of smoking. You're yourself, Frank says. Dean doesn't deny it. Why? Frank asks. Talk to me. We're brothers. You can tell me anything. And Dean wants to tell Frank everything
About Dude, about the mask, about the 28 years of performing, about not knowing who he is anymore. But he can't, because telling Frank means dropping the mask, and Dean doesn't know how to drop it, not after 35 years. So Dean just says, "I'm tired, Frank. So tired." Frank leaves. They both know it's goodbye. Dean goes back to his bedroom, turns on the television. Rio Bravo is playing somewhere. It's always playing somewhere. Watches the cigarette scene again and thinks, "I'm still trying to roll that cigarette." 28 years later. Hands still shaking, still failing, still unable to stop. And I'll die trying to roll it, never succeeding, never free. Return to December 25, 1995, which brings us back to where we started. December 25th, 1995, Christmas morning. Dean Martin dying in his bed. Rio Bravo on the television, cigarette scene playing, Dina holding his hand. "That's when I died, baby," Dean whispers. March 28th, 1959. That's when Dino Crocetti died. His breathing is labored. Each word costs everything he has left. I thought I was acting in that scene. Thought I was playing desperate. But I wasn't playing. I was desperate. And then I got so scared of ever being that vulnerable again that I built the King of Cool. Built him so strong, so thick, that I forgot there was anyone underneath. Tears flow down Dean's face. No performance left, no mask. Just a dying man telling the truth. I spent 36 years running from that scene. Running from Dude. Running from the man who couldn't roll the cigarette. I became the cool guy, the happy drunk, the guy who didn't care. But it was all costume. All armor, all mask. He coughs, struggles for breath. And my son, Dino, he died never knowing me, never knowing his father, because I was too scared to drop the mask, too scared to be real, too scared to be Dude again. Dad, promise me something, baby. Anything. When people remember me, tell them the truth. Tell them Rio Bravo was my greatest performance, because it was. It was the performance where I stopped performing, where I was actually real, where I was just me. He looks at the television, at his younger self, at Dude trying to roll the cigarette. Tell them I spent the rest of my life trying to roll that cigarette, trying to get back to that moment of being real. And I never made it. Never figured out how. Dean's eyes close. Tell them the King of Cool was the loneliest man in Hollywood, because cool was a prison, and I locked myself inside, and I died trying to find the key. His breathing slows. On the television, Dude gives up trying to roll the cigarette. Hands too broken. Hope too far gone. Dean's breathing stops. Christmas morning. The King of Cool dead in Beverly Hills. Still trying to roll that cigarette. Still Dude underneath it all. Still searching for Dino Crocetti, who died 36 years ago in the Arizona desert. Never found him. Never made it home. Closing. The dark secret revealed. 3 days later, Dina sorts through her father's things. She finds a notebook, Dean's handwriting, dated 1993, 2 years before his death. One entry. Howard Hawks asked me if I knew what desperate felt like. I said yes. I was lying. I didn't know. Not yet. I learned on that set. In that scene, with those shaking hands, I learned that desperation isn't something you perform, it's something you become. It's something that gets inside you and never leaves. And once you let people see it, you spend the rest of your life hiding it. Rio Bravo made me a star by breaking me open. Everyone loved broken Dean, vulnerable Dean, real Dean. But I couldn't survive being that exposed. So I built the mask. The king of cool, the happy drunk, the guy who didn't care about anything. And I wore that mask for 36 years. But underneath, I was always dude. Always trying to roll that cigarette. Always failing. Always desperate. The cool was the performance. Die was the truth. And I died, never figuring out who I was before I became either of them. Was there ever a Dino Crocetti? Or was he always just the first mask? And Dean Martin was the second mask. And dude was the moment I stopped wearing masks and showed the nothing underneath. I don't know anymore. All I know is I've been rolling that same cigarette since 1959. My hands are still shaking. The tobacco is still falling. And I still can't light the f***ing thing. I'll die trying to roll it. I'll die never finishing it. I'll die still looking for the man I was before the cigarette started falling apart. Dina closes the notebook, finally understands. The dark secret behind Rio Bravo wasn't about method acting or Dean's relationship with John Wayne or alcoholism. The dark secret was simpler and more terrible. Dean Martin saved his career in Rio Bravo by being completely, devastatingly real for 2 minutes and 37 seconds. And he spent the next 36 years terrified of ever being that real again. So he built the king of cool, the mask, the performance of a lifetime. And the performance was so good, so convincing, so complete, that even Dean forgot there used to be a man underneath it. Rio Bravo's cigarette scene lasts 2 minutes and 37 seconds on screen. Dean Martin spent 13,514 days living in those 2 minutes and 37 seconds, trying to roll that cigarette, trying to find the man he was before his hands started shaking. He died still looking. The king of cool, the loneliest man in Hollywood, forever trying to roll that cigarette he dropped in 1959. Forever unable to pick it back up. Forever dude. Forever lost.